Exactly. Even then, as Emily pointed out, like just what we saw just now in the Saigon Buffalo T1 game, where if two teams have a kind of similar style, but one team is a lot better, then it's never close. And when it comes to this match specifically, I do think that even if G2 lose here, I wouldn't rule out the possibility of them still bouncing back and still putting up more of a fight. But at the same time, going from 4-0 to 4-6 is really, really, really rough.
And to return to playstyles momentarily, I think another thing to keep in mind is that G2 do naturally have a really interesting and kind of good matchup into RNG, right? If they do play with Caps and Jankos like they want to, with really, really slamming that mid lane as early as possible, and then going into the mid game, kind of like rotating out from there. I actually think they have, as we saw from their first match, a pretty good matchup. And I think if I was RNG, I'd still be kind of concerned about that, given the caliber of Caps and Jankos.
End of the day, RNG has earned themselves the right to make that choice. And we turn our attention here to game number 5. It's EG versus G2 in yet another rematch. Their 6th meeting here at MSI 2022. G2 holds a blistering 5-0 record over them in that matchup. And we'll just get a quick refresher here on the last time they played in the Rumble stage.
Yeah, I mean, I think even when the games have looked close for EG, G2 have kind of always had their number. I think when it started in group stage, it was a lot about how strong their drafting was. Here, it was still, I think it really comes down to, again, like I said, Caps and Jankos working together, getting those early to mid-game leads, and then taking over the map.
Similarly, while it's a great draft for G2 here, this was one of the ones we used as an example, the chronicler of how poor EG was drafting early on.
Not only that, but G2 isn't getting this draft anymore. Right? Like this is exactly the type of draft that there's no way G2 might get some parts of this, right? Maybe they get just the Wukong, maybe they pick up the Ornn, but like a combo like this that allows them to just out-team fight everyone, I don't think EG is going to opt into it anymore, because they have actually shown that they've completely swapped over their strategy, put Danny on more comfort again, and then also this specific collection of picks speaks so much to the strengths of G2.
Even with that quote-unquote draft discrepancy, we can see the game was still close for quite some time until it kind of, completely exploded into G2's favor. But definitely a conversation is the fact that EG is on the rise. Definitely is a conversation the fact that EG has changed the way they're looking at those drafts and really relied to fall back on comfort from what we saw from them domestically. And it might be the time, for them to turn it on and snag that one win heading into the knockout stage.
I think it'd be kind of hilarious for them to go, like them to make it in first, but then go just winless completely against G2. That would just be like very hilarious to me, honestly.
It absolutely would be. And so let's see whether or not the fans think it's going to happen with our Mastercard Fan Predictions. Well in favor of G2 here with 79% of the vote. Make sure that you're hopping on Twitter to be a part of those polls as they happen, especially if you're out there in North America. Need to start representing.
It's a time zone, Dave. We know this. We've seen this the entire tournament.
I'm not sure it is either, because I think I'd still vote for G2 here, and I'm an NA rep.
You guys have no faith. I'm liking what EG has been showing.
Of international experience that has solidified
they made it through. I've made it clear how much I love this EG team.
Yeah, but it's not like we're not rooting for them. We're definitely rooting for them.
I see the fear in your heart. I'm just sitting here like, this is looking good, and they're both like, no, they're not winning. It's not happening. No way.
Let's talk about one more time real briefly how maybe it does happen, less so from the perspective of team compositions and more so from the play itself. We've kind of talked a lot about how Caps being held down has kind of been the core to success for a lot of teams against G2, alongside JoJo putting up, a very solid performance throughout this tournament. Is that the same recipe for success that EG needs to follow in order to take it?
Yeah, I mean, I think so for G2, I really want to see super strong mid jungle from Caps and Jankos, something that Caps can take over the game. From EG, it's a little bit more interesting because of the way they've had JoJo play on the Galio, even on the Ahri, as good of a game as he did have. That was more about EG team fighting as a whole.
Well, possibly the final EU versus NA clash here at MSI 2022 is ahead of us. So Medic and crew, take it away.
Dash, we are here. I am Medic. This is the crew. And Azael, I think I've worked out what we have to do this
We're
game.
just nameless goons.
Yeah,
We're just
exactly.
the crew.
Right? You're just the crew.
We're just a
Usually,
squad. In the credits at the end.
You're the winner, and you're usually the one that gets knocked out in semifinals.
But I got to semifinals.
But yeah, not too many stakes on this game. Obviously, EG can still get second place if they
There's a lot of
manage to.
stakes. You're forgetting about the most important stakes of all.
The 0-6.
Someone is going 0-6.
EG and TSM just shaking hands.
Or G2.
That's true. That's true. We get the 0-6 meme.
And which is the more damning, the 0-5 against G2 or the 5 straight losses from G2?
I mean, because G2 have lost 5 in a row, I would say the 0-6 against G2 would be more damning for you guys. Like, PSG beat this team as they're already out.
I gotta say, though, that if the G2 0-6 just stings a little bit more, just because of how well they started off the Rumble stage.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me how much it stings. Trust me, I know,
the good news is they're through to the semifinals, so the streak can continue.
There we go.
They could get to 9. Yeah.
They could get to 24. Just matching it. Perfect balance, as all things should be. Let's get into the draft, though. EG on the blue side, G2 on the red. There's the Lucian ban. LeBlanc and Xayah removed as well by Evil Geniuses. Wukong taken away by G2.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see where EG want to go with this one. Taking away the LeBlanc, you know, getting caps off those high prio, high activity mids that the desk was just hitting on.
Smells like Gwen.
Smells like Gwen in the top side. Be interesting to see what else BrokenBlade would play. We obviously have the GP, which has been the go-to, and obviously more high volatile top laners, but straight up Galio pick.
Really interesting. This is very interesting. So now I'm kind of curious if they will, in fact, actually, just go Gwen blind, because then you'd be double AP soul laners. Of course, going to be very likely on a physical damage jungler. That's pretty much all anyone plays these days. But Gwen will get taken away. So now my question is, will Impact go back to the Jax, or will he just go GP? Because he played Jax in this matchup before. The lane phase actually went pretty poorly, but it did end up getting them a win in the later stages. I would be more preferential to the GP, but Jax gives a way in and allows you to play very heavily through sides because you do have Galio. That said, we have Nocturne on the other team, and that also is a big focus on side lane. So it's really interesting because it could be a huge focus towards top, potentially.
I think it's really interesting as well because I'm kind of expecting Caps to maybe go with the Sylas pickup against the Galio, which could make it even rougher for Impact depending on what he wants to go in a side lane. But regardless, I feel like GP maybe would be a bit better since you can always be useful. You have the Cannon Barrage. He had a standout performance the other day.
The Anivia hover from JoJo. I love it.
Anivia. Obviously, Anivia was the champion Caps played in the first game between these two at MSI in the group stage.
Where JoJo got absolutely obliterated.
Yeah,
has been very good since, though.
Definitely.
I think it's been fun to watch. Obviously a lot of people are talking about Danny, but Impact Inspired and JoJo, I think the top side of the map have been very strong for AG, especially in the Rumble stage.
And this is a pick that, I feel like Impact has had some standout performances up on the Tryndamere. So really cool to see, it locked in for the side of EG.
It's also potentially flex. We have seen in the past, like Vulcan has played, Galio support in the past, and JoJo does play Tryndamere mid. We have seen more teams trying to do like surprising flexes against G2. We obviously saw Gwen, move to jungle earlier today against them. I am expecting that it's just Galio mid and it's not anything too crazy, but I think it's worth keeping in mind because more and more teams, I think, have been trying to take advantage of G2 through these flexes. But G2 getting a lot of comfort here, getting the Gwen, one of the most played for BrokenBlade, getting the Kai'Sa for Flakked has been his best performing champion, and something that is going to suit a dive comp very, very well.
Oh, and kind of surprised at EG banning out supports. I thought maybe they would want to target mid lane takeaway. Sylas, something I hit on earlier, and maybe even something like a Zoe, which is what Caps has had some like crazy standout performances on so far.
It's so interesting to see that he gets the Samira respect ban after the earlier game. I mean, because Samira was 0-4 going into that. Like, I don't think that Danny would really be reaching for that. We'll see if it is actually double marksman ban. So yeah, it is going to be double bans towards Danny, but of course there is still a lot available. Maybe they're trying to push him towards, say, like, hey, you're going to have to play Jinx and we're playing full dive. But of course, Tristana is still available, something that can play a lot more safely, has some of that self-peel. There is still Ezreal, but Ezreal's a very bad matchup into the Kai'Sa, so I wouldn't love to see Danny on that. So I'm kind of curious to see where he goes.
One of the things that the Samira does do is puts up that wind wall as well. So if you're looking for an initiation with something like a hook in the form of the Nautilus, then you can get rid of that. And even the long-range Prey Seeker or Void Seeker from the Kai'Sa can be blocked with it. So a bit of respect there. Obviously, Danny was an aficionado. Oh, that's not a word I can say right now about him. Who's a fish? Danny was a fish. And an aficionado of the Samira in his amateur days. And I was going to say this. That Gwen is a flex for G2. Caps has played Gwen mid before, so now the Jax getting picked as well. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jax is also a flex, and we could see either of these just going into whichever matchup G2 want them into.
Yeah. Very interesting. I think you're going to try to, have the Jax against the Tryndamere, almost guaranteed.
100%. And I feel like, Gwen, you have a solid time up against the Galio. You kind of just both do whatever you want. You will win out in extended trade just with the auto tads in your passive.
It is support. It is support Galio. It actually is.
So both teams trying to big brain one another. Tons of dive on the side of G2. Now some Wombo coming out for EG.
This is so funny. I called that out, but I didn't actually think it was going to happen. It's just one of those things that I know. It seems like everyone's read is that G2, it does not fare well in some of these disadvantageous matchups. Talking to some of the teams, talking to some of the coaches, it feels like people are thinking, hey, we can get some big advantages. It will, in fact, be the Ezreal, so disadvantageous matchup there. But with Galio support, clearly you are not drafting for a 2v2. They want to have Kennen, potentially up against this Jax. I do think Tryndamere is going to try to go mid. Now, the question becomes, are they actually going to just have this weird scenario where everyone's trying to scout out where the lanes are and try to really match lanes? Is Caps going to actually be willing to play the Jax, or will they just bring BrokenBlade mid potentially to lane against JoJo? How wacky are we going to get?
And in the end, Pyke will be locked in for G2. I expect a lot of movement on this map early on, as you say, trying to match the lane matchups, but also Targamas' Pyke is just all over the map in the early game, especially when he gets that onboard glaive.
And EG are totally down to do these wacky lane swaps. They actually did this in the LCS, picking Lucian and actually putting JoJo playing the Lucian top into GP to try to have these more aggressive counter picks that he is more adept at than Impact. So it is a really interesting one. And we'll have to find out, if they are in fact going to look for that Tryndamere versus Jax matchup, or just going to be happy playing out the earlier stages here against Kennen.
And I feel like when we do have such wacky drafts, especially on the side of EG in my mind, where again getting Tryndamere back in the mid lane, having the Galio down in bot, I feel like laning phase could matter quite a bit. Champions, and maybe not even the champions specifically, but matchups you're not as comfortable with. And if either side can find a big lead, I feel like it will be very damning going into the mid game, especially G2's comp, which just has so much mobility with that piking Nocturne.
We'll see which team can get ahead in the early game. A battle for pride, perhaps, but between these two teams, both of them already qualified for the semifinals. EG, of course, can still claim second place if they win this and then win a tiebreaker versus T1 later. But so far, EG have not beaten G2 in Busan. They are 0-5 across 5 games. G2 are 0-5 across their last 5 games. One of those streaks will be broken. It is the most impactful game of the day, even if perhaps the stakes aren't as high as they usually would be.
Well, I'd actually argue getting second place is a pretty big deal because RNG looks by far the best team. So, yes, it is kind of a long shot, I guess, potentially. You have to beat G2 and you also have to beat T1, so that would be a long road. But if EG were able to get second and dodge RNG, I think that is a big deal because T1 looks so much more beatable. So this is an important game for them.
Yeah, I definitely think, especially for EG, if you got the second place and then maybe had to play T1 in a semifinal, a team that you have already beaten will give you a lot more confidence. EG so far going up towards topside, getting that topside brush, trying to set Impact up for a solid matchup so he can now ward for himself and, beware of Jankos. And Jankos' cheeky gank paths have been talked about quite a few times and what he's able to find early, especially when, like we said, Targamas maybe will be roaming quite heavily to enable him setting up these soul laners.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't expect him to do anything on the Nocturne, and also especially because Caps is not playing anything with gank assist. Generally when he is going for those kind of cheeky ganks, it is playing around the Ahri or the LeBlanc or the Zoe, something that has some sort of a setup here. If someone is really overpushed, of course, you can always look for the punish, but generally on Nocturne, you want to power to 6, you want to be just really efficient on your clears and trying to get that ultimate available here ASAP.
JoJo giving Inspired a little bit of a helping hand as he then dashes across the wall. Caps is going top lane into the Kennen. Now they know right now that it's Kennen top, and they know it's Jax in that mid lane, so G2 deciding Gwen into Kennen is their matchup.
Yeah, I do think it's a better matchup. It's harder to punish, and really it's about, kind of dodging this matchup for the Jax. Jax is much more comfortable against the Tryndamere. And I do think especially in mid lane, it would be very difficult to actually punish this Jax.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be interested to see, how comfortable BrokenBlade looks playing around mid. Something about like ward timings and gang timings, all these things do change a little bit. As we've seen this one before, Danny, when he did play the Ezreal into Targamas' Pyke last time around, it was a quick level 2, therefore G2. He got first blooded. Of course, this time EG have the push and are looking to improve on that earlier performance.
You can actually see Inspired starting at Razorbeak meant that EG could start in the bottom lane, so they didn't lose the level 2, which means they don't fall to that Targamas hook at level 2. And Danny now has the dash away. The Justice Punch available as well for Vulcan. They're looking for the damage here. He's going to flash away. Heal used as well by EG. Summoner's burnt, 2 on the side of Evil Geniuses, none for G2.
Really nice by Targamas as well. Waits for Vulcan, uses the passive, throws out the Winds of War. That's when he looks for the hook, knowing they can come out with the advantageous trade, and they are able to get 2 summoners from it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is really big. And it just felt like EG not fully respecting that, I think. I think maybe Vulcan thought he was going to be a little bit tankier than he was. He is, of course, playing Aftershock, so he had a really good buffer on his E to actually proc the Aftershock instantly, but realized very quickly, hey, if I actually eat this stun, I'm going to die. So good trade back onto Targamas, though. We'll see if EG can continue pushing him back.
It's actually really nice from Vulcan. So he gets hooked and then immediately buffers the Justice Punch to knock the Targamas out of the Ghostwater Dive, the Phantom Element.
And he's done it both times, right? So it shows knowing the matchup consistently and being able to execute the mechanics of it. And then they can find the winning trade on the exit from Targamas, as we saw from Danny. Very easily able to land those Qs and those Mystic shots on the way out. And it feels like, we were hitting on the Pyke earlier on and the impact that can have, but Vulcan can have a lot of roam timers and where he can impact, especially with such high kill threat lanes in a Tryndamere and a Kennen.
For the moment, we see camps being forced underneath this tower on the top lane. Jankos has gone a long way round here. And as you say, Vulcan has no flash. Justice Punch away. Looking for Danny. The Fear Tether coming out. He will jump. The hook only hits onto Vulcan. Good taunt as well. The exhaust now used. EG will be able to retreat once again. Only 1 summoner burnt by them.
Pretty well played, actually, by EG. I was thinking Vulcan was going to be dead. Danny actually kind of blocking for his teammate there. Smart stuff. Holds onto the E, doesn't need to use the flash. He can tank those early abilities, buys time there for Vulcan. But of course, G2 are going to have much better reset as a result. They're going to shove this in. At the very least, it is a cannon wave, so EG won't lose that much. But their early buy, not much to write home about here. You can see it's just the tier for Danny. You always want to try to be able to farm that out a little bit longer. They're kind of hoping for that dream base of tier plus Sheen. But even a couple longswords does make a big difference here because this is going to kind of put you on the very defensive side of this 2v2.
And I'm very curious to see now with, the resets coming out, Targamas on the map, and we see Impact finding quite a nice lead in the top side. Of course, it's a matchup that wins out early anyway, having the summon area as well. But, maybe Caps in a long lane, a matchup maybe he's not too comfortable with himself. It can be an area where EG can find a lot of impact and that G2 might need to cover a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think Caps, obviously he's down on the farm, but post 6 with Ghost, you've also got to be pretty scared, I think, as Kennen with a Nocturne up there. You want to be pushing in this matchup as the Kennen, trying to farm plates, trying to harass the Gwen under tower, but that makes you incredibly susceptible to that first Nocturne ultimate. If you get Nocturne ulted at the G2 tower, you're likely going to get ran down.
And this is often the ebb and flow we see in the early game. Where the junglers are really dictates which lanes can get priority and which lanes push ahead. You see Inspired spend more time on the top side of the map. Impact isn't a winning matchup, but has also had his jungler nearby, means that he can play a little bit more aggressively. On the bottom side, Flakked has a lead because Danny and Vulcan have been harassed and harangued by Jankos and by Targamas. So this balance is why the gold is still even though we see these CS discrepancies in different lanes.
Yeah, we can still see G2 continue to index on that bottom side. Really great ward line down in River so far. EG can have no vision, no information of what's going on. So it really feels like Inspired is going to have to just pivot and keep playing up towards Impact. And G2 just going to get, a Drake because of all the setup they've been able to get so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're winning the 2v2 very heavily, so you can just kind of trade cross map. They're pinging on towards the tower, and it's an early level 6 here for Impact, so Caps kind of has to leave. He will have to back this up.
Will get stunned with the Spectral Maw. He's going to be forced away, but Inspired, no Heartbreaker, even with jojopyun coming up, just trying to force Caps away from the tower.
Exactly. It's about the denial here because there's no TP on Caps. Impact saved his TP already ahead, so now down 20 CS. You have to base. You're going to lose 2 plates, 2 waves, and the wave is going to be pushing away from you. So Caps in a bit of a rough spot here, to be honest, as Jojo going to go for this all in.
Ghost Undying Mage, look with the trade, knows there's no counter-strike. BrokenBlade does have the flash to get away. We'll use it across the wall, and that's the issue with using your counter-strike early.
Exactly, and that was really well played there by Jojo. When you try to go for that trade aggressively, defensively with the Counter-Strike, Tryndamere has the opportunity to look for these. Oh, fancy
I love watching Galios do that. It's like, oh, I'm coming back towards you. No, I'm not. Just moonwalks his way out of that.
That was nice, but yeah, just well played there, getting the flash out. Yes, you trade your Ghost, but now BrokenBlade quite susceptible for these next couple minutes here. No ult, no flash, Caps being put pretty far down. 23 CS with the wave pushing away from you, not the position you want to be in. And Caps really has been the focal point of much of the success for G2, not just here, but over the years. Especially here, though, I think he's been the one guy that I feel like even when things were going bad for G2, it felt like Caps kind of was that spark plug. He was the hope in a lot of these matchups. You think back to the RNG game against Xiaohu, where it was really kind of more of a way diff than a mid diff, where Caps was winning out in that 1v1. So to have Caps down here early, they're not going to be too happy about that, and I can see Jankos trying to get up there and remedy that. It
is also why it's a little surprising they've moved Caps out of the mid lane. Mid and jungle have so much control over such a large portion of the map that to move Caps to the top lane, yes, you are getting a better matchup for BrokenBlade, and it makes sense why they've done it. You just take away that catalyst that you were talking about.
Yeah, and I feel like another important point on that is not just, mid lane, but then how you communicate and interact with the other teammates, right? Because supports impacting mid is another way you can unlock your mid laner. It's like, okay, BrokenBlade now having to be the one to work with Targamas just changes the dynamic completely.
And I think it does show a lot of trust in BrokenBlade, though, right? Because you're kind of saying, hey, I'm taking the worst lane for me. I'm going to play top lane so you can dodge this matchup. Now it puts the pressure on BrokenBlade to really make good on that, to be able to carry. EG, I don't think they're going to commit to this because Danny's still bot, but it could be 4v4.
Nocturne coming out, Vulcan there with a great taunt, the slicing Maelstrom onto the back line as well. Jankos already down. Riptail was secured. Resets coming out is Inspired, looks for the chase. Heartbreaker forward, Caps and Targamas flashing away. They will escape underneath their tower. Caps has popped that Ghost. BrokenBlade there with a leap as well. Spectral Maw still hits Inspired, looking for the damage. Blade of the Ruin King into the reset. jojopyun has the Undying Rage. The chase continues for EG, slicing and dicing through them, but jojopyun a little bit too deep perhaps. Caps able to escape, Targamas able to get the kill. Inspired underneath the tower, looks for the reset. You still tank the tower while you do that. And Inspired will be met by Jankos in the end.
Very aggressive stuff there from EG, but they knew Kai'Sa was also on a reset, so they're down to take the 4v4. All things said here, it is the Herald going the way of G2. One extra kill for EG though. Could have been a little bit better for them. I don't think Jojo was able to actually get his Q off as that ult expired. It was really well timed, from the G2 members being able to immediately kill him off before he actually popped that heal. But not too bad. Pretty even overall.
Overall, I really like that EG actually opted to take this fight, right? Because I feel like G2's comp indexes way more to pick and finding numbers advantage. EG having these big abilities to lock people down. Huge taunt coming out from Vulcan. And then Impact with a beautiful slicing Maelstrom. And even as BrokenBlade tries to get away, taking some of that damage as well. And EG realizing they have the ability to follow up. jojopyun still having his ultimate, I think, gives Evil Geniuses the confidence to be able to look for this dive. Sadly, though, they are going to get a bit of kills, but are going to over-aggress a little bit for it. And Inspired going to end up in a bit of an awkward position, even though he does, find one more in the end.
Yep, Inspired gets the kill. It's kind of debatable. Is it worth it? You're getting the kill. You're giving one over there to Jankos. Overall, I do think it's a pretty even trade. EG continuing to play with confidence, though, and that's something that I do like to see from them. In the earlier game today, the Samira, I think, was a pretty good example. Not a pick I loved, but they played it with confidence. We can see Jankos here waiting for the counter gank.
EG know that Jankos is here, though. They spotted him on the ward, and the slicing Maelstrom comes out immediately. Caps is down. Reset for Inspired, his third kill of the game. And Jankos, you were on vision the entire time, and EG get a double once again for Inspired.
That is massive because they're trying to get Caps back into the game. They're hoping to get a kill, drop Herald, take that tower. Look at the top diff here between Impact and Caps. Nearly 1,500 gold in the favor of Impact now. Caps getting sent back to mid lane so far, but we'll see if BrokenBlade, can kind of be that strong member, can get up there towards that top lane and be that split pusher for them, because Caps is just having a rough one.
But that's one of the reasons I love the aggressive play from Inspired earlier on, getting that kill on Caps. It shuts down Caps, sets him behind. Kills on Viego as well are just so strong. If you can get towards your Sundra, Inspired now is at 4 kills. He is reading Jankos like a book in a lot of these plays, and EG can use his power to really pop off for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and even just setting Jankos down on the opposite side, right? Playing a champion like Nocturne, a champion that really is no way out. You only go in is quite rough, but you guys already hit on it, knowing that Jankos was here. Again, just having some more of these tools to be able to take the fight. Huge slicing Maelstrom coming out from Impact, leaving Jankos in the 1v2. Very easy kill followed up for Inspired.
And now it's just that tough question, right? Like, do you continue to actually play towards the losing lane, or do you say, all right, good luck? Because on the other side, Vulcan has been moving. G2 is winning that 2v2. They did pick Ezreal into the losing matchup, very largely, I think, because they're saying, all right, Danny, it's not going to be about you. We're going to play about the other lanes. You can fall down. But this does mean Flakked is very strong. And they're going to drop Herald now bot here. They're going to look to push this in. Viego is moving, so I don't expect them to actually get the full tower, but they will get gold here onto Flakked. It's got to be a bit careful, though.
Danny putting a lot of damage down as well. jojopyun coming up from the top side, but here comes the paranoia as they look for the chase. BrokenBlade has the flash, will jump back with a leap strike to fear as well. We'll keep jojopyun in spot for the moment, gets to the blast cone, but there's nowhere for him really to go. You can see Flakked coming up from the side as well. Targamas going forward. Jojo, well, that's some very fancy feet. He will still die. Gold not gifted over the ignite from Targamas just to make sure he goes down.
He just accepts in the end, like, I can't do it. jojopyun dancing, skirting around the fight so well. Blows the summoner.
Nice pick there, though, from G2, getting the kill onto jojopyun, but honestly, well played to actually force out the summoner to be used there and sidestep the gold, so no bonus gold going across, not the extra bit from your cut. Again, Caps getting pushed out of lane here once more, though more plates going to go the way of Impact, and we can see, Jojo still pretty strong in this 1v1. He would have had that kill on BrokenBlade, even with Nocturne there, if it weren't for the fear.
Yeah, and I kind of want to see now EG take advantage as Vulcan. Not going to be able to find anything. Because now you've blown your paranoia on Jankos, right? Have a bit of a window where if EG look for another play towards the top side, both Impact and Inspired have everything. Divine Sunder already built on Inspired as well. I feel like it would be quite an advantageous 2v2. Looks like Inspired is going to focus on, going back to his camps instead.
You can actually see now G2 have swapped their lanes back. Caps going towards mid lane. BrokenBlade is now answering up towards that top side. Caps 40 CS down in the top lane matchup.
Yeah, it's a bit of a rough one for sure. But now that Jax actually has some levels and has some CDR, you can kind of start to threaten playing that matchup pretty aggressively into the Kennen. You really can start to look to win that. Obviously has the CDR boots, has the early Kindle gem here. If Inspired is on that side of the map, you've got to play with respect, but you do have the ability to win out in that 1v1. And mid lane is just a safer lane. If you're losing, it's a shorter lane. It's harder to actually get punished, so Caps should be able to get more consistent farm. And I think this is a smart move here from G2. Plus, with all the gold in the pockets of Flakked, if he can really kind of call back to some of those earlier performances in the event, where he was playing fearless, he was taking over team fights, he has a huge CS advantage. He's being donated all the plates, all the gold from his team.
And I'm really curious to see what Flakked can do with that, because when you look at the champions that EG has, really only Danny is someone that Flakked has the ability to dive on. You dive onto jojopyun or Impact, feels like the Kai'Sa will just get one shot. So it feels like 4G2's engage is going to have to be quite
I almost lost my mind there for a second. They walked past that bush like 6 times. BrokenBlade walked into it, almost walked back out of it. It's like, oh wait, there's a control ward here. Been walking across it the entire time. They do clear it out in the end. But yes, as you say, how can Flakked impact the map, and how can EG play around the fact that Inspired and Impact are so big right now? Because they are very powerful. Next Dragon, third of the game for G2. If they get it in 2 minutes' time, that's where I expect the real crux of this conflict to start.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think it becomes very difficult to actually play. When you're playing Ezreal into Ocean Soul, your poke starts to really become very easy to shrug off. EG trying to make a play towards this second Herald up on top side. Should be able to secure it. Doesn't look like G2 is going to move towards contest.
It has been GG for their opponents a lot of the time recently. It's right.
I love that you can laugh at the struggle. That's how you get through the pain.
We just name EG to EZ, and then it's EG to
EZ versus GG, yes.
But clear divide so far in terms of where the teams have been playing, right? G2, since EG had just gotten the Rift Herald, is going to have full control over this bottom side. And that this is what their game plan is going to be from now on, right? Enabling BrokenBlade in that side lane, playing around him with Jankos and even Targamas to try and have him start winning out in that 1v1. Still doesn't have the Mythic quite yet. I would assume he's probably sitting on the backcourt, maybe even already.
Yeah, I would think he pretty much has it. Or he's got to be very close at least. Probably has it on this base. But it's been a pretty slow game over the last couple minutes, which I do think favors G2 in this situation. Buying more time for the Jax, buying more time for Gwen to kind of get back into it here. but EG pushing mid with Herald, wanting to knock this down, setting up for the Dragon. They will have mid lane push and should be able to get this tower. We'll see if the G2 want to contest, but I don't think so with Targamas coming out of base.
Looks like G2 will just wait to catch the Rift as it charges forward. Vision control though now for EG in the river. You can see where Impact is lying in wait. A single slicing Maelstrom could turn this game very much in EG's favor, and already they're 1,500 gold ahead as we enter the mid portion of the match.
And G2 are just going to give up the Dragon, I think. I mean, BrokenBlade's going towards top. He hasn't actually reset to spend his gold. So to me, this says they're not going to contest it. They're just going to give up Dragon number 3, buy more time for Jax, try to trade for either the full tower top or at the very least some damage. They could, of course, TP him in, but it just wouldn't make sense to TP a no-mana Jackson who hasn't fought.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised, though, the fact that G2 aren't pivoting more up towards top side. They are finally doing it now, but it felt like if you knew you were going to give up the Drake anyway, start getting into the enemy jungle, get some vision down, see if any camps are up that you can take away from Inspired, and really enable BrokenBlade. Not able to do it. An Impact will use the TP to make sure that BrokenBlade isn't able to get any damage down on the tower, but mostly EG just get that Dragon for free.
Yep, not too bad for them whatsoever. So, buying themselves a little bit more time. Danny, of course, trying to scale up. And to me, this feels like one of those games where a play is going to happen on side, one team is going to come out ahead, and things are going to start snowballing, right? If you're able to get a kill in side lane with the Nocturne plus one of your split pushers, or on the other side, with Galio potentially plus jojopyun, then you start having to have the map pulled apart, right? Extra people have to come and answer. That opens up the later game objectives, things like the Baron. And this is really kind of feeling that type of game, because I don't think either team is really super confident about full all-inning a 5v5, because it can be very, very dicey with these compositions.
Their fights are so swingy. Like, does a Pyke ultimate land? In which case, G2 probably win the fight. Does jojopyun manage to get into the backline and get a couple of crits? Then EG probably win the fight, right?
A good slicing
motion just turns it on its head, right? And G2, over the last couple of days, have fallen victim to those swingy fights a lot of times in the mid game. So I'm not surprised they want to play a little bit more cautiously in this one. But you know what I am? I'm surprised. Comes out of nowhere. Boo. Did I shock you guys?
I just love that it feels like we always get these.
We do have to say the thing.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, so I wanted you to finish, and then I'll say the thing.
He actually was surprised. He's like,
you were shocked. Look,
he just thought you really loved the emote.
Well, no, I love it, man.
I knew the emote was coming up.
He is passionate about this emote.
Don't forget to grab your exclusive Scare Prize, get a Prime Gaming emote so you can strut when you flash and turn a fight. Boo.
I gotta say, yesterday you actually did sound pretty passionate about the emote.
I'm very passionate about emote. It's a great emote. I think it's really cool.
It's hard to beat the thumbs up. It kind of just, you don't have to flash and turn and fight for the thumbs up. You could be inting it, you could be slamming, you could just miss a cannon.
I have mine bound to my mouse buttons, so every time I do anything in lane, it's a different emote. Sad crying dog, happy face.
I would mute you.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I hope my opponents do.
Yeah.
In their mind. I'm in their brain palace. As we look for a play down towards the bottom side, you said perhaps these side lane plays could be enough. Ultimate comes out from the Nocturne, Paranoia, perhaps a scare price here for jojopyun, but he still has the Undying Rage. The fear into the ult will get him out. Hero's entrance coming back as Caps tries to dodge away. G2 reacting. Targamas keeping Danny busy off towards the side. Inspired goes underneath the tower. Flakked dives forward with Targamas, and that's one kill as Danny will fall. Impact did not have TP to answer this play.
Yeah, I'm really shocked that EG even tried to contest this, because as you say, no teleport on Impact. Jojo got out for free. That should have been the end of it. EG don't need to actually scrap there, but they decide to go back in. That kill was never going to happen from G2. Danny was caught in rotation trying to come back in and assist this. Vulcan is using the ultimate to try to come in and assist this. I think at the worst, you would have just given up your bot tier 2. jojopyun backs out. EG pushes mid. Impact is pushing top, and the play is washed.
It's tier 2 for tier 2.
And I was going to say, overall, actually would be a win for the side of EG, right? You're getting more waves and you're denying more CS on the opposite side. G2 committed 5 members down to the bot side to make that play. So overall, teleport. A bit of a misstep going over from EG to give a bit more over.
And that is where some of those aggressive tendencies, I think, can bite you a little bit. Where EG has been pretty down to scrap. I think it has been serving them well, and I would rather they be, a little bit too confident to fight than not enough, to be honest. But it can definitely hurt you, and Danny, falling further behind. Flakked does get another kill there. At the very least, Flakked did have to spend his flash and his ulti, so he will be much more vulnerable potentially here at this next fight, because flash is available on Jojo, on Vulcan, on Impact, and if Flakked is caught, that is going to be dangerous.
Just look at how quickly these ultimates are coming back off cooldown, though. Jankos is already back, 50 ability haste
CDR
on
OP.
Nocturne, yep. The Lucidity Boots, the Kindle Gem, and the Stride Breaker giving you 50 ability haste, and then obviously Runes and Masteries can give you even more. G2 have that option to keep looking for that play. You see Targamas with the Unbooked Glaive trying to clear out as much vision as possible. That ward in the middle of mid lane is one we often see, and being used well by EG just to track some of the movements from G2.
Well, you can see EG getting a little bit nervous.
Impact behind.
Is G2 actually starting up any potential play here? An Impact on the flank here, waiting in the brush. Inspired moving up, and Caps caught on the wrong side of the map potentially.
Yeah, there's nowhere for Caps to go here. Danny can just jump across the wall, doesn't want to until Impact at least has some damage down. Caps could dash into Danny looking for the 1v1, but Danny waiting and ready to go.
That was so smart from Danny. If you E over the wall, he can go back the other way. So Danny just playing it out smart, not overcommitting there, gets the kill, and now EG will get a dragon off the back of this. So back-to-back dragons here from EG. Caps getting punished in the side lane.
I also just love the fact that Impact knew he didn't have to use his ultimate, right? Because it felt like a waste of that ultimate could have been huge. When right now, having the Shadow Flame now, he's going to do so much to the members of G2 who really have no magic resist built yet.
And I actually love this build. You know, when you're solo AP, stack the spell pen. Don't go Zonias, don't go Banshees. Don't give me these Merc Tread builds.
Rift Maker into...
Rift Maker, Conqueror. You know, I think that it's the way to play it. You know, he's going Rocket Belt. He's has a lot of early spell pen here with the tier 2 boots plus the Shadow Flame. So if he can find that fight, it is going to be incredibly impactful. And of course, you know, coming up on this next dragon where there is very likely to be a contest, he should have stopwatch gold pretty easily. So yes, he won't have the Zonias, but is going to be in a good position to scrap.
And I gotta say, right, especially with them stacking up Oceans, and then if they can make their way to the Soul, like, sure, G2's comp is very all-in and wants, like, a very short, bursty fight, so they really shouldn't be looking to take too much poke. At least the contests over mid-wave are really going to hurt for the side of G2 with Danny dishing out all that damage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if either team gets the Soul, it's very hard to win a 1v1 in the side lane against an Ocean Soul team. You have to really start to index towards that heal cut. Your itemization gets worse for the 1v1 as a result, and they're still going to be having quite a bit of sustain in there. EG trying to get these important item completions. Of course, you called out the Shadow Flame. Death Dance is through. Danny now finally has his Muramana there. So the big completions are coming in. But on the other side, Flakked, you know, he, I feel like, is the big hope.
270 CS at 24 minutes in the game. He is being funneled here. Alongside BrokenBlade, he's got 210. EG start up the Baron, as you say. Targamas and Jankos could look for the steal here. Control ward into the pit means that the Paranoia can go in.
They're trying to force a fight around Impact. They're saying Impact is omega strong right now. You better TP BrokenBlade or we're going to take it. But G2 calling their bluff, and rightfully so.
Yeah, you know,
Targamas.
I'm surprised if EG were going to commit, they wouldn't want to commit a little bit more. Inspired was taking quite a bit of damage and getting low, but I still feel like they probably had the tools to be able to have enough threat to force a TP coming out from BrokenBlade. But hey, in a game like this, when you're fighting for second, when you're fighting for a chance to not face RNG, I guess you don't even want to risk it.
Well, if you have a different marksman, I think they could commit more to it, but like Ezreal is just not the champion that really burns it down. JoJo's still just on the one item, so they are a little bit low on the DPS. Kennen, of course, big teamfight threat, but again, they just don't have a great Baron take, so I think it would have taken them a while. I do think it's correct to pull off. If you get low, any sort of damage is going to set up for Targamas' ults, and that can be a game-losing play very easily. It's like, you might get BrokenBlade's TP, but they might get an ace and a Baron, so...
And EG have aced enough people at Baron to know the opposite side of it.
Experience.
Yeah.
Anathema's Chains coming out for Jankos, second item. Really curious to see who he uses that one on. I would assume Impact, but with the amount of damage he'll be dealing out in these fights.
Yeah, we'll have to find out exactly what it is. I mean, I think Danny also makes a lot of sense, just having the additional CC onto him. The reduction in tenacity is something that I always really value very highly. With Nocturne, you get that longer fear duration. Danny is not playing Cleanse. He does not have QSS. There's no Mikhails. If you land a fear on him, he's probably just dead.
For another reason, you could do jojopyun, or for the same reason, because if he's feared when he's in the Undying Rage and he's just running away from you, it's like, cool, you're not hitting me with that axe.
There's too many options, boys, too many.
Does make him a little bit tankier as well, but we'll see.
I recommend Galio.
I don't.
As the unbiased broadcaster in this situation, you know.
EG just appeared to done. Azael, check PayPal, please. Don't listen to them, G2. You can still come out of today with your heads at least a little bit higher than they were at the start.
Well, and let's be honest, you know, there's a lot of time for things to change for G2 between now and the knockout stage, right? They have some time. We know that they can play at an incredibly high level. We have seen that demonstrated here. And yes, we know that they can have some really rough games. They're on a pretty big downturn, but they can try to turn things around And thankfully, PSG lost for them, so they are already through, and they really can focus, win or lose, on that knockout stage.
I also think the fact that they're one of the teams willing to be very creative in draft will obviously help them out so much in a best-of-5.
It would help them more if they started winning when they were creative in the draft. Like, you can pick Bard, jungle for you want. If it keeps losing, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
though.
the Riven,
But it's so
exactly
cool.
That's true. He was named after the champion.
Like, stop being creative. Pick Ornn.
Yeah. Vulcan, though, perhaps a little caught out, has to burn the flash as the Bone Skewer was going to connect. I've seen Vulcan in that position a few times. The paranoia comes in. There's no way out. Dead from below marks the spot as G2 now looks for the chase. BrokenBlade TPing in. Caps coming in from the top side as well. Flakked with a good flank position. Heartbreaker out by Inspired. Impact coming in. Will G2 back away? jojopyun looking for a bit of damage himself. Impact does have the flash, has that Hextech rocket belt as well, but he will be diving into
G2 are going to go
G2. Voidseeker not quite going to connect. Good true shot barrage will chip away at G2.
Damage.
This is a little bit scary because Kennen still has flash and ulti, but I mean, no ult on jojopyun, no ult on Inspired, no flash on him. Vulcan's dead. This is a really hard contest. We'll see though, can Impact get into the pit here?
It's on Targamas.
They should give it.
A really good job of stopping Zeus' Kennen getting into a fight, and as you say, they should give it, and they do. G2 get the Baron off a single pick.
That is massive, and Vulcan has had a habit this tournament of getting caught out, looking for vision, didn't have Inspired with him. It's okay. You have to do some warding, of course. You can't always be playing defensive, can't always be playing with perfect information. But in this case, get punished very hard. They get the kill. They force out these key cooldowns. And now G2 with the run of the map, up 3,000 gold. EG will move to Soul Point. But G2 could potentially extend this lead a lot here.
No, again, it just keeps coming off cooldown. He's looking for the chase here.
No
Danny
ult.
there as well. No ult for Inspired. As you say, Heartbreaker still on cooldown itself. Stopwatch. jojopyun looking for a flank. Vulcan going in as well. Exhaust onto BrokenBlade. G2, though, continue to advance. Vulcan now not in the best of situations. No flash for him. No way out. You feel the lock, and Impact comes in. Only slicing mouse onto Jankos, who pops the stopwatch. Inspired now pulled back. Jankos flashes away. EG looking to try and turn this fight around as Caps still pushing in the top lane. It's a 4v5 as BrokenBlade falls. EG continue to advance. Inspired with the counter-strike, gets onto Targamas. He flashes away. Heartbreaker for the follow. Caps on the inhibitor.
It's still good for G2. It's honestly still good for G2 because they're able to get that top lane tower and the inhibitor here. Really well played in the 4v5, keeping EG interested. Yes, they do lose one member, but they even get a second tower off the back of it.
I feel like G2 are just playing so well around this window where they see Impact on the side lane, and they're so decisive pulling the trigger. And they know that's when they win, right? That they spot one member, even only slightly disconnected from the rest of the squad.
Caps is stunned here. Targamas is on the way here as entrance as well. Caps is going to locked up. Good hallowed miss. He manages to get one. Vulcan, though, going in with the taunt. Flakked is going to cleanse away the paranoia coming in as G2 look for the turnaround. Kind of insignificant by Flakked. Flash across the wall. The kill onto Impact. May have turned it in G2's favors, but Danny finds a shutdown. And now it's Danny versus the world, and the world comes down like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, no way for him to win that one. Flakked is so far ahead, closing in on a flame horizon here. Jojo out to the other side of the map. And G2 is just using their globals so well. EG is playing single teleport, so they're pulling Impact out to the side. They tax his teleport, and then they're using the Nocturne ultimate and double TP to create big advantages here.
1v1, both level 15. jojopyun against BrokenBlade. jojopyun does still have the Undying Rage.
BrokenBlade wins.
He is winning it right now. A couple of crits could change it, but the counter-strike late enough. Undying Rage will time out, and BrokenBlade can just dash onto the Tryndamere space.
Yeah, once Jax has armor, it becomes really hard to actually win out with the Frozen Heart.
Frozen Heart,
exactly.
too much.
You just live out. You can see that he was delaying the counter-strike a really long time, knowing exactly how to play it out. And again, as soon as you see Tryndamere bot lane, that is the key thing. There's no TP on Tryndamere, so they're just going to go for the play.
Yeah, they're continuously just pulling the trigger at such good timings. They all in instantly, trying to find a way back with Danny not really touching the fight, but still G2 find their way on key members like Impact.
Yeah, I mean, that kill as well, actually getting that kill onto the Viego that early was critical. You know, if he gets the reset there onto Caps, the fight can look very, very different. So Caps, big play from him, able to finish off that kill. Lane was really rough from him, but G2 has done a good job actually keeping him relevant, buying him time in the side lane to farm it up. Well, Impact has just been kind of forced to group as the key member for EG. And you look, Caps almost has a death cap.
And I feel like even just looking at other items, right? We have a Guardian Angel on Jankos already. We have a Stopwatch still in Flakked's inventory. They can play on a knife edge. They can play aggressive, and they still should be able to come out on top.
It's the ability of G2 just to dive in on a single target. It's so often EG are using a lot of cooldowns to disengage the fight, and G2 are just advancing and advancing and advancing.
Yeah.
And if EG ever manage to find a fight where they can be the ones making the proactive play, they're really strong. Like, Danny is 3 items on this Ezreal. If he can poke, he is in a great position. Inspired is now 3 items on this Viego, and we talked Impact's praises throughout the entire game. If he gets a good ult, things can still shift.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the huge thing, right? Is G2 continuously keeping Impact on side, so we haven't seen him able to find a huge slicing Maelstrom since the first Rift Herald fight, which was even before he was this big monster that he is right now.
Well, that's the thing, is that there's a lot of, ifs. There are situations in which EG, I think, can win a fight for sure. A lot of them around how Impact can play, but G2 just don't have to take the fights, right?
Yep.
They spread the map. We'll see, though, if EG can get anything done here at this next Dragon. That is the big question, because that is playing for Soul. EG, of course, on Soul Point, but if you send too many people over there, double TP is available for G2, and 2 inhibitors are down. They could potentially just end the game, so EG have got to make sure they don't overcommit.
Yeah, I don't even know how EG get the map in a state
so
where
hard.
they can safely just, ignore waves, walk straight to the Dragon Pit, get vision set up. It feels like G2 will just be solidly favored. EG, you might even just have to give the next one up, keep trying to get more items, but it doesn't get any better with Jax just getting further and further ahead. I mean, Flakked's almost full build as it is.
30 minutes in, 370 CS going along like the clappers there, and G2 continue just to control vision in the EG jungle. Don't really give them a moment to breathe as the waves continue to push in. 10 seconds on the Drake. Expectations are that Jankos will just go around, take that by himself, while the rest of G2 continue this unrelenting pressure on the EG base.
Yep, going to be able to grab that up, no problem.
And here's the good thing, Azael. I'm a little happier because G2 are winning a game.
Yeah.
You can still be happy because EG are in the semifinals. Yeah. There's not this, like, NA greater than EU, EU greater than NA, although I will say EU have won 6 of the 6 games they played against each other, so as much as things change, things stay the same, it seems.
Well, the real thing is, though, NAU record, that's kind of less important. What was the record against PSG? That's really how you determine.
That's an Mbappe diff,
the mark,
okay? You can't beat Messi. It's just impossible.
There was an interview from FLICKR. He was talking about that's the bar, something Bay.
Don't worry, you guys can be
Jojo
fist bumping
him down.
as T1 and RNG are taking you both down in the semis,
Or,
I mean, it's the 2019 storyline all over again.
TL went 4-6 in that group and then clapped the LPL.
Yeah. G2 went 5-5 and then won the whole thing.
There you go.
EG, though, trying to do something on the map here as they start up this Baron down to 7,000. BrokenBlade can TP in. Paranoia going in as they look to isolate Impact off towards the tide. Caps forced off towards the top side. BrokenBlade TP'd in the middle of the fight. Flakked and Jankos are looking for Impact. They should be able to take him down through this stopwatch. Impact tries to get away. The Fear Tether doesn't quite hit. Hero's entrance coming in as EG. Danny now force low. Caps low as well. Flakked goes on a killing spree as he kills off Jojo. Caps chases down Danny. And EG, you said they tried to flip it. Well, the flip sadly came up tails. The Impact ultimate at the end has a little of it. Inspired will fall in the end. You can steal away Caps, but it's the closest you'll get to winning this game.
Yeah, huge coming out from G2. EG not able to connect the big wombo, the CC coming out from the Galio, Impact with a huge Kennen ult, and G2 will just be able to push through the base, making it that 6-0 scoreline against EG.
Well, someone has to continue the 0-6 legacy today. It is EG's opportunity to do so. As much as things are, the inhibitor respawns, and a great line coming up with the inhibitor respawns to stop it. EG, though, perhaps with this inhib respawn have time. 8 seconds on Jojo. Maybe I was a little bit too happy for them. As much as things change, they still stay the same. EU greater than NA.
Well, I gotta give it to them. They had our number in this event for sure. Not much I can say about that. G2 ending on a high note here for the Rumble stage. Congratulations to them. Of course, both teams making it through to the knockout stage. EG going to be happy about that, but definitely a disappointing performance against G2. But it's nice to see G2 able to bounce back, and I think playing the map really intelligently, the early laning phase, absolutely a struggle for Caps, but G2 just played the map very, very intelligently. They didn't kind of crumble under the pressure. They utilized double TP plus the Nocturne advantage to find plays, and it just felt like Impact was run all over the map because he was the key member. Jojo was never really in it. They played more towards topside. Danny's behind because of this matchup, and G2 did such a good job. Even in that final fight, the solo Nocturne all onto Kennen, and then even Flakked coming over to push him out, because G2 just know, unless Kennen gets a multi-man ult, there's no losing the fight.
It's Jack's Gwen, right? Like, you just can't do anything against that.
The thing I love about it as well is it's kind of, right, that's been one of the through lines of history with, like, the European representatives, is how they can play out through side lanes, how they can play out through the map, even going back to, like, the SOASs and Xpekes and how they were able to do it. Nice to see G2 showcase that once again to end the losing streak, to show, you know, we were questioning, hey, maybe a bit tilted, maybe a bit down in the dumps, but able to bring it back. And again, everything will be different going into best of fives.
Yeah, I'm just really interested to see what the development is going to look for a lot of these teams, right? You know, who are they going to choose? Everyone is really, I think, expecting EG. Yeah. You know, I have heard that EG is doing very well in scrims against some of these teams, so maybe that plays into it. But of course, you know, G2 did take a game off of RNG. G2 has also done historically very well against some of these teams.
2018 living in RNG's heads.
It feels like almost guaranteed. You know, you're thinking RNG is going to pick EG. Yep. You're thinking it's going to be T1 and G2. And I think they should be very happy if they do get that matchup, because T1 has looked, you know, much less consistent than RNG. So it's going to be a really interesting, I think, final set of games.
Yeah, going to be really interesting to see how EG and G2 level up over the next few days as well, because EG have looked consistently better throughout the course of the tournament. And G2
except
obviously
against G2.
Yeah, except against G2. And G2 have looked consistently worse, except against EG, apparently.
Ah, they're not playing us.
Oh, there we go. We'll see how the Rumble Stage rounds out with our final game of the day after this, RNG versus T1. Xiaohu flashes, the Predator, the chase. The winds of war find their mark, and inspired alongside Impact. 7-1. The best team at MSI, RNG, take down another.
그냥 패배를 통해서 좀 더 강해질 수 있고.
Gumayushi going forward, perhaps baiting in K with the flash across the wall, and incredible engage! You woke the beast, and the beast is angry!
그래서 오늘 이후로 이제 지지 않을 생각이고.
Red Bull gives you wings. Red Bull gives you wings.
Welcome back to the State Farm Analyst Desk, where G2 stops their lose streak by taking down EG for a 6th time. And what a rebound it is, in all honesty. A game before moving into the knockout stage for a team that was on quite the slide while they had already locked their position. This is the kind of victory you need to kind of remind people that you are a threat, a team that should be respected, reminding people of the level of dominance that you entered the tournament with.
No, Dash. Best of ones means everything. G2 was the best team, then they were the worst team, and now they're...
We slammed best of one so much today. It's great. I love it.
It's reacting to best of ones, but it had everything that like a traditional G2 game would expect. Had 1-3-1, really good side laning, and a Pyke. It's really all you could ask for.
Yeah, and I mean, I was watching this with Kobe, and I was the pessimist, and he was the optimist as soon as I saw this, because I was like, exactly like you said, this has everything that G2 wants. Even when EG were able to get ahead, I was looking at this composition, even with the early lane swap, which I thought was pretty interesting, how, you know, Caps got set back. BrokenBlade took a while to get online, but, you know, that's still going to happen, and they were just able to take over in these team fights.
Absolutely. Really tough spot for EG to be in beyond a certain point within this game. As you mentioned, even with the small lead they had built, and arguably one of the better positions they've been in against G2 in the many games that they've had, but still not quite enough to push them over the table. I would maybe call into question the lack of, you know, engage and agency that they had. Of course, the Galio in the support position, but outside of that, really difficult for the Galio to get in there.
Yeah, because especially once G2 got to a mid-game point, like they win most of their side lanes, so they just continuously shove. And if you try to collapse, either you have a Nocturne ult, which really makes Vulcan's job a lot harder, and he's also support Galio, so less budget, less damage, less tankiness. And then there's also a Pyke, right, which you can't always track. And with BrokenBlade, it became really hard for EG to ever really respond to the shove that was there from G2.
Now, as we know, every second counts, and thanks to the reliable Cisco network, Caps barely takes down Inspire, denying Viego resets and pulling G2 into a favorable position for this fight. Viego was, in large part, the big threat on the side of EG, with a lot of the early kills going his way, and so for Caps to be able to kind of secure this kill in the final moment before the reset comes through did wonders in terms of turning the fight.
Yeah, especially, I mean, anyone who's seen Inspired starting back in his Rogue days from last year, I remember they kept showing that one Viego fight, he's incredibly comfortable on this pick. Interrupting that was huge, and then, you know, G2 just take over from there.
Not a lot to be done, right? At that point in the game, we'd already kind of passed where I think EG could be comfortable, because I actually really liked how they played at the early lanes. Impact on the Kennen, actually getting a sizable lead in that Kennen versus Gwen matchup, just wasn't enough.
Yeah, ultimately for me, the learning here is that a lot of this tournament continues to be determined by late game team fights, right? And it does feel like in that sense, EG drafted themselves into a little bit of a hole. I also got to call into question Viego priority. We have seen that champion struggle to find success here on the international stage, and a few teams have kind of leaped for it today, which I'm wondering where kind of the impetus for that has come from.
Well, if you weigh, it's fine.
Sure, if you're the best performing team in the entire stage, then you could probably pick anything you want. Now, for more on G2's victory over EG, Laura standing by with BrokenBlade in the Verizon post-game interview.
Back to present as G2 is still undefeated against the LCS PB. Thank you for joining me after this game. Congrats on taking them down a 6th time. You beat EG, get to knockouts. Sounds like a good day, right?
I mean, yeah, it sounds like a good day. I mean, we're on a rough losing streak, but NA always has our back, so I'm happy. Was a nice game to play. I felt really good playing, and even talking, communicating in the game. I was doing really good, I think. So I'm just happy we can end the Rumble stage with a win.
On a good note, yeah.
Yeah, so
feels good. Quick note on the lane swap also. What was that about?
The enemy thought they were really funny, and they were flag speaking on us while we were flag speaking on them. So it was like, oh, they pick Kennen. What should we do? You know. And I think it was a smart pick. It countered both Jax and Gwen. But I wanted to play against Tryndamere, so I told Caps go top lane, and he didn't have a good time because of matchup. He actually didn't know how to play the matchup. But it was fine after all, because again we all tried to help each other as much as possible. And in the mid game, I feel like we just really denied their comp. We never team fought really. We always played the map. We always played really well around counting TP, and they only had one, which was really easy, right? So if Kennen TP'd anywhere, we're like, okay, guys, just make a play on the other side. He doesn't have TP. So I was just happy how the game was actually played.
It was a much better looking G2 than we've been used to seeing for the past few days. Let's talk about, honestly, the Rumble stage and what happened after day 2. How do you explain the games?
The games that we lost?
Yeah.
Well, I think it was more of an adaptation issue. I think other teams adapted well and they improved well. And I think in this tournament where there's so many high-tier teams, you obviously improve every day. And I think we just didn't. Maybe it was because in the first days we also just went without any losses and we couldn't take much from these games. Now that we did lose, I think we are taking stuff from these games that we lost, and we are having a lot of good talks, which I'm really, really happy about, actually. And I think this actually might be better for us that we lost 4 games now and still are on the next stage than if you would have gone without losing again. Because I think we learned something from these losses, and our team, they really take these losses well, and I think it will just make us better.
You're talking about having good talks, not losing hope, basically. What allowed you to just stay positive throughout the losses and the learnings you were mentioning?
I mean, I think it's just our team, every single individual is very similar in terms of working together when there's issues, or how we call them, challenges. And I really like it because it's something, it shows that everyone is really trying to win, even when things are looking not as good, or when you're not on a 24-game winning streak, right? But because we want to win, I feel like we have those talks, and we're still going to try to the very end, right? And see how far we can make it. Obviously, we want to win it, and I think we can. It will depend on how we take these days where we have more practice again to adapt in those matches.
I mean, looking ahead at the knockouts, best of 5 series, you don't have a lot of time to prep, actually. And I believe that with the new patch coming, I don't even think solo queue is going to be relevant again. Do you have any info maybe on how you're going to prep and what can we expect from G2 in the knockouts?
I do think that having prep or like scrims are going to help us more, because in these 5 days, I think it was, or 4.
Depends on which day you play, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we didn't really have time to scrim, right, because we had so many games. And I think having 1 or 2, even one day, would be enough to have an idea of what you want to go with. So I'm very, very happy and confident to go on to the next stage.
Oh, looking forward to seeing G2 in the knockouts, baby. Thank you so much for the interview. And Berlin, back to you.